Hello, folks. We're back again. It's the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. I'm here with my friend Pete, and we are your guides as we try to make sense of this South America's biggest country, Brazil. How are you, Pete?
I am good. I am good. The week is off and rolling.
Oh, yeah. Monday night, guys, 10 p.m. every other Monday because it's a little bit tough with our schedules to do it every week. We are on, we are live, and we're bringing you some interesting guests. I hope we've had some interesting people on, and sometimes we'll just be on, just Pete and I talking about life here in general. Tonight, we have a real special guest. We have our first published author. I feel so like, ugh, I got all the
Wow.
feels.
Yeah, I totally feel
Doctor,
like Diane Sawyer now.
and I feel like Baba Wawa. Uh, we have Dr. Eswar Chukaluri. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He will correct me when he comes on. He's already backstage waiting to come on. So thankful for him for making the time to come on because I know we do come on a bit late. But that's just the way it works, guys, unfortunately, with time constraints. And we will be talking about the art of the deal a la Brazil. He wrote this book called Negotiate Like a Natural, a short book, and it really is a short book. And he'll be talking about some of the points in it, how it is that you can be a good deal maker in general, but more specifically down here in Brazil. I know we do have a lot of business people down here in Brazil who are just trying to get their stuff done. And boy, oh boy, it is not easy. It's quite a learning curve getting your
Yeah.
stuff done down here in Brazil. So there we go. Let me put up the main screen. That's nicer, like that. There you go. There he is, Eswar. Beautiful picture there. So before we get to the interview, though, we'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing the last couple weeks. And I haven't done anything that amazing, Pete, other than find yet another beautiful green area. The next BJ, when we come on, I will share pictures. I was going out for a run on Raposo Tavares, which is this big avenue
hmm
um, that runs close to my house, which goes all the way to the interior, basically. But anyway,
Yeah,
I was running.
it's a state highway.
Yeah, yeah, it goes all the way to Mato Grosso, I believe is
I-
the next state over.
I've
So I
fallen
followed
asleep
it
on
on.
the bus many times, woken up
Yes, yes,
outside of Sao Paulo.
exactly. So I was looking for a park that I usually go to because they have tennis courts there, and I was just gonna run, but it was closed. But then I followed the bike lane next to it just because I was like, well, I'm here, I might as well keep running. And that bike lane led to this little dirt path, and this dirt path led to a bigger path, which led to this huge park that I didn't know existed. And it was gorgeous. So I'm planning on having a little bit of a picnic, and I'll take a bunch of pictures and I'll share them with you guys. Gorgeous park. It's so big that it actually takes up part of São Paulo, Cotia, which is the next city over, and Osasco, which is the next city over. So it's huge,
hmm
huge, huge park. Very gorgeous. So that's pretty much the most exciting thing that happened to me this past week. What about you?
Yeah, not a lot either. Basically, I have a crisis of the week. Last week, just before we went on the air, I was a little late with our friend Latif because I punctured my fridge with a butcher knife trying to defrost it. So that was a week dealing with that. $870 for a new fridge. Not cool. Not cool. Now I'm out of gas and I can't seem to get a hold of anybody to deliver more, so that's a problem. But these are just, some of the fun things that I have to deal with living on my own as
And
opposed to,
living on your own and being a madman And I only say that, folks, because I treat others how I like to be treated, and I am a madman because I did exactly the same thing that Pete did when it came to defrosting. I went for the knife because I just couldn't wait long enough for that fridge to defrost. So I'm peeking away,
Yeah,
and I
you
had
can't
done
leave
it.
your fridge unplugged, man. You need the beer, you need the ice cubes. You can't unplug your fridge. Gotta.
Yes, and I had done it, Pete, at least 3 times before successfully. So I figured I was
Hmm.
kind of like an ace at it. I was like, okay, I know how to just pick just at the ice. But then this one night, man, it didn't work out that way, and I just beep. I heard it, tss, the little
Yes,
hissing
yes,
sound.
that's the exact sound I heard. I was like,
Yeah, and I was
"Oh,
like,
that ain't
wait,
good.
yeah,
That ain't
that's not a
good."
good sound. No, and it's funny because the hissing sound, it correlates to the deflation of your spirit, as you know exactly what you just did.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like, oh my, I just bought myself an 800 reais fridge too. So
yeah,
I lasted without a fridge for quite a while though, because I didn't have the money at the time to just buy one, cash. So I think I lasted about 3 or 4 months without a fridge. And I realized, I don't eat that much at home because at the time I was definitely out of the house more because it was pre-COVID and I was teaching everywhere, here and there and everywhere. So you eat on the street a lot.
yeah,
And I realized, okay, I don't really need a fridge for anything except for alcohol. And Pete's been to my house many times, and I'm sure he's noticed how my fridge is mostly empty except for
yeah,
alcohol. So I lasted a little while with just putting ice in the little vegetable container and putting my beers and other um, favorite drinks in there. But yeah, once you start being more at home, you definitely need a fridge to make those leftovers last a little bit longer
yeah. Especially if
than
you're
one day.
working from home too, because
Hmm.
you have very limited opportunities to eat because dinner time is actually when most people want classes and shit. So
Yes.
that's where the majority of your work is. You don't have time to cook. So you got to make a big batch of something and throw it in the fridge.
Yes, or even if you're just eating like those microwave meals, I
Yeah.
eat them sometimes, like those little spaghetti things. It's quick and
Hmm.
easy, but you got to eat them the same day, or you will be having a lot of rotten food. So yes, yes, yes. I know your pain. And I don't get this, and maybe we can ask Eswar about this, how to get a good deal on a Frigo bar. I didn't get the logic of why a Frigo bar costs almost double of an actual fridge. I'm like half the size, half the price. And those things were like, oh, I couldn't find one for under 1,000. It was like 1,500 reais, six. I'm like, what the hell, man? So I ended up getting a big old a fridge again, and that's what we're working with. But anyway, enough
Yeah.
of that,
And we
guy.
did see the new Chaos Bar. We did see the new Chaos Bar this week, which
Oh
was
yes,
pretty
guys,
cool.
Chaos Bar is reopening. We got to go there. I should have put the picture up of us at Chaos. I forgot to do that. Well, I'll show you guys that next week. But Chaos Bar is where our band plays. And in case you ever see on the bottom there my name as Phil Ray Music, that's my Instagram page where I do a lot of music. So check that out. And go see us play live if you're in Sao Paulo. Usually we're there on a Saturday. So as soon as I know next time we're playing, show up. It's a really nice bar, a real nice bartender too, Samuel. Okay,
Hmm.
but let's get to it, guys. Negotiating like a natural. Amazon Kindle, you can get it there. That's how I got it. You can just get it straight on Amazon. And it says here, do you know what makes natural negotiators click? Dr. Chukaluri, who led several successful corporate negotiations around the world, claims that there are 4 golden principles inherent in the mindset of natural negotiators. Anyone that integrates these principles into their mindset can negotiate as effortlessly and successfully as a natural. This book contains the 4 golden principles to mimic natural negotiators, tips on humor, tips on communication, killer negotiation strategies, and rookie mistakes to avoid. I read the book, I enjoyed it. We're going to get to the finer points of this, and let's get him on the stream. Let me see if I unmute him. Oh, as for your mic is not connected. Okay, so Connect your mic. I can't unmute you. Oh, there
Can
you
you
go.
hear
Now
me
I
now?
got. Now I
Yeah,
can
we
hear
hear
you.
you.
Great. Was a good introduction. Thank you, Phil.
How are you? Good to hear you. I haven't seen you in a
Um,
while.
in a while, several years, I think, right?
I believe so. Um, so Eswar, before, and I can just call you Eswar, or would you prefer Dr. Chukaluri?
You can call me Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, okay.
Perfect.
Uh, and Peter claims David Duchovny could play him in a movie, so we're all superstars here. So, Eswar, before we get to the nitty gritty, tell our listeners where you're from and how you ended up in Brazil, please.
Well, I was born in India, so I grew up there until I was around 20 years old, and then I moved to Germany for higher education, and I was there for nearly 10 years. Did my higher education and PhD there, and then I also worked in a company called Siemens. And then I moved to the United Kingdom and there for a couple of years, and then to Sweden. So, still officially, I live in Sweden. But then in 2017, I wanted to travel through South America because of an inspiration from a book from Che Guevara called The Motorcycle Diaries that I read when I was early 20s, I think. And I finally had the chance to do it. So as I was traveling through South America in Brazil, I didn't want to come to Brazil at all because it's a Portuguese-speaking country. Wanted to travel through Spanish-speaking countries, but as fate had it, I ended up here. Wanted to leave after 2 days and met my mother of the daughter now, and now I am here.
And when was this exactly that you made the full move down here?
I am not actually fully moved. I live here now full time, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a double resident at the moment. I am officially living both in Sweden and Brazil.
Oh, I got you. But you've been here how many years total? I mean, just contact with the country, maybe 5 years or longer.
No, 2018, May, almost exactly 3 years now.
Oh, 2018. So very recent, very recent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I did have a guest on in an earlier version of this program who was also from India. One thing that I asked her, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of our expats are usually from Europe, European countries, or North American countries. What was for you the biggest cultural change or something that surprised you when you came to Brazil compared to India?
That's a bit of a wrong question because I had too many cultural shocks in between with many other countries. So I
Well, I
can't,
Yeah.
imagine you
yeah,
were
I can't,
everywhere.
yeah, I can't really call myself an Indian because when I go to India, I have cultural shocks. So, but the cultural shocks for Brazil or the things that shocked me when I came to Brazil were especially the language Portuguese really shocked
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
because it's very I spent at that time nearly more than a year learning Spanish, and I lived during the travels 6 7 months in Spanish speaking countries, different countries, and I was quite comfortable communicating with the locals in Spanish. And when I came to Brazil, the thing that shocked me was I realized that I couldn't survive. That's why I decided after 2 days to want to go to a different country because it's nearly impossible to survive in this country without speaking the language, which was not the case in these other countries, although they were non-English speaking countries.
Oh, I got you. And why is that? Do other countries have more access to English? what makes you say that it's nearly impossible to survive here without Portuguese?
With Portuguese, not, for example, if you don't speak Spanish and you are in a Spanish speaking country, you can use tools like Google Translate and you can pronounce things, you can type it out and you can
Mm-hmm.
pronounce, and they will understand what you're trying to say. In Brazil, you have to say it exactly the way they say it. If you mispronounce even a little bit, it's complete blank for a typical Brazilian.
You know what? I've experienced this before, and
I
I've
have, but it tends to be with the lower educated people.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When you're on the
Yeah.
street, you're talking with
Yeah.
people on the street, like asking for directions, talking to Uber drivers, talking to people in the shops, and so on.
No, but this is very true. And it's funny for me, I felt really bad because I grew up in a Brazilian household hearing Portuguese my whole life, and I would ask simple directions. And if I put the accent on the wrong syllable, they just looked at me with blank faces. I was like, it's impossible that you can't tell the difference between climax and climax or whatever it was. It was a
Hmm.
supermarket I was looking for.
Yeah.
And it's very true what you say. It's very true what you say. So you've been going back and forth or no? Because I remember you had left Brazil for a little bit.
Yeah.
Now,
I was in Sweden the last year, half a year, and we came back end of the year last year.
okay. And can you tell us a little bit about exactly what you do?
Yeah, I'm a
Oh,
customer service project manager in, I don't know if I want to mention the company, but it's a multinational company that has heritage both from Sweden and Switzerland.
okay, cool. So, out of all this that you've told us, what prompted you to write this book, Negotiate Like a Natural?
Yeah, like I was saying, in 2017, I wanted to travel, but it was the decision to travel was because of yeah, I was lost in my life basically. I had a nice job and an apartment and a girlfriend and everything on paper that one would need to be happy, but I was
Hmm.
miserable. So it took 1 year preparation for me to act on this dream journey through South America, or wanting to realize that. But I still wasn't confident of speaking Spanish. So I wanted to first learn Spanish before actually going to South America. And I was thinking where to go. So there was nothing stopping me from picking any destination in the world. So I could go anywhere. And when you're in that situation, it's very difficult to choose where to go. And then I met someone, or had a accidental chat with a girl that I barely spoke with in my company from Serbia. And she told me, "Oh, you should go to Serbia." I said, "But I want to learn Spanish." And then she said, "I have a friend in Belgrade who is a Spanish teacher, so you should go there." So that's how I decided within 5 minutes to go to Belgrade. And then that was my first stop. So when I was there, I went to meet the teacher. And after the first meeting, she asked me if I want to stay a little bit longer and speak with her English students. She also taught English to locals. And I don't know if you know, Serbia is not so very
We
well
know.
visited by
Yeah.
foreigners.
Yes, we know.
Yeah. Do, Yeah, so Serbia is not very well visited by foreigners, so she wanted somebody who is a native speaker to speak with her students. So I spoke with them a little bit, and after going home, I thought, this is a good idea. So I asked for a discount in the fees for my classes. So in return to speaking with her students, she agreed happily, and I started doing that. And after a couple of months, she used to notice me speaking with her students, and she told me out of the blue one day, you should become a coach. And I didn't know. I said, what do you mean a coach? She said, a life coach.
Life coach, yeah. I have a friend who does that.
Yeah,
So you,
but I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't. I was coming to the end of the story, so
That's
I know what
okay.
you asked. I didn't forget about what you asked.
no, go ahead, go
Uh,
ahead. I was gonna say that now I'm getting how the life coaching kind of weaves into the negotiating. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. No, actually, I didn't know what life coaching was. Because it's a strange idea for me that somebody has to teach you how to live. So I didn't know that it existed.
Yeah.
So when she said you should become a life coach, I was like, what do you mean? What do they do? And she said, yeah, it's teaching people how to live and so on. And I thought she was joking, and I laughed and went back home. Uh, and that was just before the weekend. And during the weekend, at some point, I was in the gym working out, and then it flashed in my head that she wasn't joking. It was one of those sudden flashes. And then I sent a message to her. I want to meet with her the next day, and she said, "Yeah, come over." So I went and said, "You weren't joking, were you?" And she said, "No, I wasn't joking." I said, "Okay, then why did you? Why do you think that I should become a life coach?" She said, "Yeah, the way you talk to people, it does good for them. I see that it is doing good for my students. So that's what they need, a lot of people. So you should become a life coach." But still, the idea of life coaching didn't sit with me because it's a strange idea.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was
So you weren't
thinking,
destined to be the next Tony Robbins, then.
no. I still don't know. Actually, my girlfriend does that life coaching thing, and I always make fun of her
Oh
because
boy.
she hides everything from me because of that, all her materials.
Yeah. And aren't there life coaches who coach people how to be life coaches? Like that's the strangest thing about that to me. Like there's life
Yeah,
coaches,
yes,
and then
yes,
and then there's like the boss level life coach who coaches people how to be life coaches.
exactly. That's what she's trying to do now.
Okay.
For me, it's just a ridiculous idea. I hope she's sleeping now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some people though. Some people actually need it. You'd be surprised how many people actually need it. So if there's a market out there. But anyway, but back to the story because I want to get to how this all led to you writing this book because I really enjoyed this book.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, okay, maybe I can teach something. So the idea from life coaching I took was maybe I can teach people something that I think I'm good at. And I thought, what can I teach? And the first thing that came to my mind was negotiations, because I felt over the years that I have an edge in that field over a normal person, but I didn't know how I can teach what I do. So I started to write down, like from my experiences. Okay, in that case I did this. In this case I did that. So I started to like reverse engineer the cases to find out the techniques and so on. So that's how this book happened.
I got it. And were you doing speaking tours on this? Like, were you actually teaching people how to make deals or not?
No, I never taught anybody. It was I did the negotiations. So I was actually being sent by my company to
Mm-hmm.
different clients around the world to negotiate.
Oh, I got you. So I want to dig into the book a little bit. Well, actually, not a little bit, a lot. But I want for you to be able to give us the Brazilian spin. You've been here since 2018, on and off, but I think you've been here long enough to get a little bit of the Brazilian culture, how Brazilians operate, how they think. And I think that's what obviously would be interesting to our listeners because they're mostly all Brazilian expats. And what I appreciated about the book when I read it is that it doesn't just give you advice if you're like running a multi-million dollar deal and trying to get it passed through, but even just day to day, going to the street market, trying to buy a new fridge, maybe. Um, how it is that you can get that leverage, get people to be on your side. And Brazil is infamous for being a difficult country to negotiate in for a myriad of reasons. So I want your perspective on that. But how I want to do it is I want to go through the four golden principles that you mentioned in your book, and maybe you can explain quickly what the principle is and how you think someone could practically put it to use in their day to day. The first one is think win win.
Yeah, yeah.
But I read a passage of your book where you said that you're about to say this, so I'm probably cutting you off and being terribly rude, but this is a passage of your book that I read where you said you shouldn't think about getting the best deal for you. You should think about getting the best deal for both of you. So please run away.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly this thing win-win is because the point that I was trying to make there was a lot of people don't think win-win, although it's like everyone knows the phrase
The phrase,
win-win.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nobody actually thinks that, or very few people think that they are trying to get the best for them, and that's not a good strategy in the long term. People say, this is a win-win deal, let's do it. But if you actually, the right way to negotiate is to really think that and actually not say it when you are negotiating. You should never say this is a win-win in a negotiation. Mm. But you should really think how we can get a deal that is good for both sides. That's what I mean by think win-win.
And do you think that does that translate well for Brazilians? Because my experience, and I don't know if Pete can back me up or not, is that it seems like Brazilians tend to think win for me as much as possible, and then maybe if you get a little bit of crumbs on the side, good for you. Which is a bit part of how Brazilian history has been. The Brazilians usually come out on the shit end of the stick when it comes to a lot of things. So I feel Brazilians really feel like they need to get it all in one lump, like they don't have tomorrow, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might have a new president tomorrow. So um, how have you been able to adapt this win-win to a Brazilian mentality, which, at least in my opinion, is generally more like that? It's not win-win at all. It's winner takes all.
I actually I can give you a couple of examples of where I did this
Hmm.
in Brazil, but the applicability to Brazilians is a different question. We can talk about it. I don't know if how much applicable it is for Brazilians. For example, when I was renting my present apartment, when you are renting an apartment here for a long term, you need to give a deposit, right?
Yes.
For several months and so on. And I thought it was a bad idea to give a deposit. Why? Not because I think I break things or I don't want to pay for things that I break, but I was expecting Brazilian real to devalue during this year. So imagine if I paid 10,000 reais at the beginning of the year and I get my deposit back at the end of the year, the same amount, 10,000 reais, it would be valued much less depending on the depreciation, right? So I
Yeah.
rather pay little deposit uh, and give something else in return to the owner upfront. So I'm getting the best value of the money. So what I did was to offer to my landlord to pay a few months rent in advance and cut the deposit in half. It was good for her because Brazilians, as you know, interest rates in Brazil are super high. For me, in Sweden, we have nearly 0% interest rates. So for me, it doesn't matter if I'm paying 6 months rent at once or 1 month rent at once. But for a Brazilian landlord, getting several months rent at once means a lot of interest on it. So that was a win-win for both of us. And
That's a
she
great
agreed.
example.
Yeah.
That's a great example. And I have noticed, if we want to, and again, we're trying to just always try to focus back to Brazil for the listeners. As far as with rental, I did manage to do something similar to you recently because my contract was up in the place where I live, and they were going to renegotiate the contract, and usually that means price goes up a little bit, and I managed to keep the price the same. But I did it by talking to the landlord and saying, "Hey, I can do some things around the house. I can paint, maybe fix a door here and there, fix some of the electrical wiring in the house because it's kind of an old house, and I've been here about 8 years." So Brazilians tend to appreciate things that are very tangible like that, just like as Eswar stated. Here's money in your hand that
Yeah.
you don't have to worry, like, is it going to be here in 6 months? No, it's in your hand. So that's a great example of how win-win can work in Brazil. Be very tangible, give a very specific um, uh, gift, or offer something very specific that they can use right away.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you've only been here since 2018. The longer you're here, I'm sure the more you'll notice how mercurial just Brazil is. 1 minute you're up, the next minute you're down, and then the next day you're up again. It's a roller coaster, monthly almost. So if you can get a Brazilian to trust that, hey, I have something steady for 6 months to a year, that will usually result in a win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
Number two, I think, is mega important for Brazil. Develop rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually should be number one, perhaps.
For Brazil, definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's true. I completely agree with you. It should be one step up in for Brazil.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because what I found in negotiating in Brazil is that you can have all the expertise and all the qualifications in the world, but if they don't actually like you or feel some kind of personal connection, you're not going to make forward progress.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, the personal connection is one level up, but the first level is trust, building trust, no?
Yes.
Uh, and
Yeah, because I
trust
think
is
everyone's trying to rob them, which
exactly.
they are.
So trust is in very short supply in Brazil between people, I noticed.
Yes, yes.
And if you can provide this provide this trust, meaning that they think that they can trust you, I think you are already in a very good position.
Hmm.
And the second thing of making them like you. That's where in the book I talk about humor, because you can't dislike somebody who makes you laugh. So that's why I
Right.
think humor is a very important ingredient in negotiating, at least in my way of doing it. And in Brazil, it definitely applies. But in Brazil, I would also add being, how do you put it, polite. Yeah,
Hmm.
being polite in a Brazilian sense of being polite. Uh, yeah, not. Yeah, there are things that are a little strange for me, because I live too much in Germanic countries where politeness is not highly regarded. I mean, you are straight to the point.
Yeah.
Uh, and here there is a lot of dancing around things. You say a lot of shit that, can I say shit?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
of
can.
course.
Yeah. That you don't necessarily, or you don't actually need to, that actually distracts from the actual subject and the point that you're trying. It's not the best use of time, but you do that just to build trust and being
I
liked.
I agree with you. Old friend of mine had posted once in an expat group her morning conversation. She worked in a here in Rio for an American company. For her American colleague, she would just send them a text message like, "Hey, good morning. Do you have that report that I asked for last Friday?" "Oh, cool. Sure. Thanks." Boom. And then for the Brazilian, it would have to be, "Good
Good
morning. How was
morning.
your
Yeah.
weekend? Are the kids okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. Did you watch the game? Did you watch Corinthians this weekend, by the way? Oh, yeah, great game. Oh, and by the way, that report. Do you remember that report? Yes, I get hit with that, and I know for sure I have lost some potential
Yeah.
students because I have forgotten to do just a simple thing, bom dia. If you forget to say bom dia before you say hello, oh man, bom dia. By the way, good morning. Um, yeah, as far as completely right about that. But humor, we're going to talk about humor because I like that chapter on humor. Let's just move along real quick here. I like this. Know the balance of leverages. I actually highlighted a quote here from the book. Remember that a successful negotiation doesn't mean getting what you want, it is getting the best possible outcome. So
I
expound a
love
little bit
that
on that.
part actually.
Yes, that's a really good quote. Expound a little bit about this. Know the balance of leverages.
Yeah, it's actually a very simple thing, right? I mean, what is it that you have that I want, and what is it that I have that you want? Just knowing that or being aware of it is very important, because although it's like such an obvious thing, I saw people in like the highest positions in management and so on who are completely oblivious to that. And screw up negotiations. This, for example, let's say you want something from somebody. You have to ask yourself, what can I offer them? And what do they want? So, being aware of this, I think, is what I mean by being aware of the balance of leverages.
No, I got you. And how would you find out, with because some folks play close to the cuff. They don't open up as much as about what they have, what they want. What's the best way to get that out of a person?
I think you want to. Uh, I can give you an example. I was once in a negotiation. It's a corporate negotiation, and it was a really messy one, because we have disputes for more than 3 years at that time, and several project managers tried to resolve it, and it never got resolved, because they had certain complaints about us, and we have certain complaints about them, and both sides are correct. So there is never going to be a compromise because both are trying to screw the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got on the case and I went there and I met the customer and we were going again in the same downward spiral. And I said to the guy who is the decision maker, look, we want to resolve this issue. We want to close this. Just tell us what you want and I will see if I can do it, if I can meet that or not. Because I want to close this. And then everything
Just tell me what you want.
Yeah, just tell me what you want.
That was your strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my intention is to close this subject. I want to move on from this. And we were negotiating for several hours in that meeting by that time. And he just stopped everything and he said, Ishwar and me said that we will restart in the sense that we will not go back in the same lines of you did this, I did that. It's a completely different perspective of what do we want. That's it. It's not about you screwed this up, so I pay $100 for this, but completely forget about it. Okay, I want this. Can you give it to me? So they went back to the drawing board and they came up with a list of what they want. And then it completely became a negotiation on that list. All the past was wiped off. So, and we closed a deal within 1 week.
So what you're saying is that basically the key strategy to getting what you want and giving other people what they want is to just ask them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that seems too simple, but awesome. That's practical advice.
Yeah, because here, just to point out, the important thing to take away here is, I mean, just ask them is the obvious thing, but the important thing is not get stuck on the past.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and also maybe in like how you ask them is probably important. But I remember I forgot who said this quote, but it well no, actually I think it's kind of a pretty famous aphorism. Empty mouths don't get fed, but there's a quote around that. But basically, if you don't ask, if you don't say what's troubling you, nobody's gonna know. Nobody can read your mind. So that's perfect advice, and it's so easy, but it's so difficult to do, you know, and it relates even to other areas as far as relationships and everything. You got to say how you're feeling, or nobody's gonna know. And last rule, as far I got here, is don't show off. That is a classic rookie mistake, you know, to show off to people that you pulled off a great deal using your negotiation skills. So, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, that's it's very important in the long term not to make people think that you're good at negotiating unless it's your job or whatever, where you need to tell people that you're good at this. Because the moment someone thinks that you're good at it, they become defensive. And once they become defensive, it would be even hard to make any deal. Forget about a good deal, because they're always thinking that this guy is good at this, so he's going to screw me, so I have to protect myself. So never let people think that you're good at negotiating.
I got you. Play the dummy role, and then get stuff done. And I wanted to go back just a little bit because I had some notes here that I had put down as I was reading. And there's a part here in Think Win Win where it says, however, I thought they would offer me more based on how badly they wanted and needed me, so I continued negotiating and pushing them harder and harder. I started noticing genuine irritation from my new line manager, but I wouldn't stop and continued negotiating. This forced a meeting with my new and old line managers and the head of HR, where they showed me salary statistics of the company to prove that their offer to me was well above par. Now, this pushing method, um, do you think that's a good method for down here in Brazil? Because I don't know. I don't know how Brazilians deal with pushy. I know in some cultures it does work. Like if you put your foot down and keep pushing, and eventually something's got to give. But how well do you think it's worked down here for you since your time down here?
No, actually, in the book, I gave it as a lesson learned for me because it was one of
Okay.
the screw ups. Uh, because I don't recommend being pushy. It's I highly recommend against it. In that example that you were quoting from the book, I regretted pushing because nobody wants to negotiate with people who are annoying and pushy all the time. And
Hmm. Nobody wants to
you
talk to them, actually.
exactly. So you don't want to do that. So it was
A
like
lesson
that
learned. No,
example.
no, actually, my mistake.
Yeah.
Because actually, I'm reading the rest of the quote here. Yes, it was my mistake. But I still want to get a little bit of that because you mentioned like in Germany, politeness is not necessarily not the prime necessity when you're doing the negotiation. Um, when do you know when you do have to push a little bit? Because I do believe sometimes you do have to show a little bit of muster, and when to back off. Like, how do you gauge that when you're in the negotiation stance?
Well, this is a tricky one. This is actually one of the, how should I put it, the difficult parts in negotiation, I think, because let's see how I should formulate it.
We don't want to create Donald Trumps now, but I do think there are some famous negotiators who talk about, how sometimes they're a little firm. You got to show a little firmness.
Yeah, well, exactly. All this goes back to also the balance of leverages thing that I was talking about,
Hmm.
because what you have that they want and what they have that you want and so on. But I was trying to be succinct on this. This thing of when to be pushy and when not to push things. I think you shouldn't push when this is such a soft topic, man. It's a feeling thing. That's why I'm trying to. When you have,
Right.
okay, let me put it like this. When you have shown your cards, you have shown your cards to the other side. Wait for them to respond. Don't push.
I like that.
That is a
This
good
is one of,
answer.
yeah, a lot of people do this mistake of overselling after they show their cards, which makes their position weak and inflates the position of the other side. So once you show your cards, you need to wait for them to respond. Don't be pushy there.
Got you. We have a comment here from Sid Osley, who joined us in our last broadcast. So thanks for coming back, Sid. 3Ds to success. And he says here, good topic. I think many people from the US and Europe make the mistake of being really pushy and not taking the time to cultivate a relationship in Brazil and other Latin American countries. And Sid, earlier we were talking exactly about that. One of the keys to success here that Eswar was talking about is rapport, and it's essential in Latin American countries in general, but Brazil especially. And Pete had said that sometimes it's not about what you can do, but who you are. A Brazilian may choose you for a job more based on your personality. Do they feel comfortable around you than even your know-how? It's very common to happen here. So true, 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 guys. If you're coming down to Brazil and you're trying to open a business, you're trying to buy some land, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Even if you're coming down just to teach English, you want to get clients and stuff like that, you need to take some time to learn the culture. And also, very important, and Eswar, he said how he moved around a lot. Brazil wasn't his first choice. A lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I've met enough people that thought that, hey, I know how to deal with Spanish speaking countries. I know how to deal, I've done business in Mexico or Colombia or Peru. So yeah, I can get Brazil. Wrong answer. Okay. Got to take your time to learn Brazilian culture. One, it's a different language. They don't speak Spanish here, but it's a very different culture from other Latin American countries. So much so that Brazilians almost have a little bit of a uh, they don't really like to be compared to the other Latin American countries. They get a little weird when you say they're Latin American
I wouldn't
or
say
they
they
get
get weird. I'd say they get defensive.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, um, before we move on, just speculating, but this may have had something to do with the guy getting killed in Colombia about a month ago. Yeah, American guy who was doing almost exactly everything that Eswar said not to do, especially the last part about not showing off. He went to Colombia, dropped a whole lot of money in this kind of, lower middle class neighborhood, was uh, finally I think he got the deal closed, gave all the money to the dude to buy this place where he's going to open up his restaurant, and he got killed. And the story is that it was a mugging gone wrong, but there's a lot of little question marks around that. And he seemed to me from the videos that he was posting about his dealings and everything that I don't think he was following some of the guidelines that we're talking about now. Yeah, definitely don't want to do that in some Latin American countries. On a general level, as far, how have you found building trust with Brazilians? What's the easiest way to build trust with Brazilians?
Yeah, one thing that works for yeah, I don't know if it is a nice thing to say, but people seem to trust more when they think that I'm not from Brazil. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Is this true?
yeah,
Yeah, I've found that to be the case as well.
I have also. It's kind of a shame to say, but it's just
But you
true
are
because
from Brazil,
yeah, but I didn't grow up here, so that's the first thing that I say if they ask me, "Are you Brazilian?" I said, no. I mean, I was born here, but I left when I was 5, and automatically I see
right?
a change in their tone. You know,
Right.
because they kind of get that my mentality wasn't formed
Yeah. Well,
here.
nobody hates Brazilians more than Brazilians.
This is true. This is true. Um, just a few more things I want to run down, and then Eswar, we do have a little bit of a quiz that you're going to take part in that I forgot to mention. Um, how does body work? Body work. How does body language work for Brazilians? Because you do have a bit here about body language in your book.
yes. How does it work? I mean, you don't need to teach body language to Brazilians, I think. They, they got that covered.
Yes. Yes.
When it comes to body language, I give Cubans and Brazilians the highest marks, I think.
I agree. It may be offsetting though for those of us who are not used to getting hugged and kissed and whatever, in the middle of the day, like just going in for an interview sometimes. It may offset you a
During
little
the middle
bit.
of a pandemic, maybe. Do
Yes, or in the middle of
you
a
think this is
pandemic.
the best time to be kissing me on the cheek? Oh well. I got it. Maybe I don't.
I loved this bit here about avoid strength and attack weaknesses, about getting a good deal in the fish market. During the first half of the day, the fish is fresh, and the fish salesmen have the whole day to sell. It's always It's always harder. However, if you wait until late afternoon when the fish salesmen have to get rid of their fish as their market value steeply declines, you can negotiate yourself into a much better deal. So sometimes you got to wait it out. But this is a technique that I use all the time when I go to the feira. I go to the feira at 12:30 p.m., sometimes 1 o'clock, because I know everything's cheaper, and the tomatoes aren't going to go bad, that
Yeah.
have been sitting there from 8 in the morning till 1. So that's a great strategy that I like that you put in here, Eswar.
Mhm.
But I did want you to expound a little bit on this part here about muddy the waters. Okay,
Oh
this is a
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is a go-to default strategy of a lot of national negotiators that I personally know. The idea here is to complicate the issue with details and bring up other possibilities of addressing the issue at hand when you're not in a strong negotiating position. When executed correctly, it will get your negotiating partner to start evaluating those possibilities you brought up and maybe even think of some new possibilities. This can distract them enough to stop going for the kill and buy you time. At this stage, the job is only half done. You need to use this time wisely so that the end result is favorable for you. Can you just give us like a clear example of that, or expound on that a little bit more?
Have you seen the television series The Crown?
The prom.
I have
No,
not. The Crown.
the
The
Crown,
Crown.
the
Oh,
Crown.
the crown. The crown. I have not, but I know of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
I recently watched it, and the Queen Elizabeth II, the second,
Hmm.
the present Queen, she uses it a lot in that series. She uses it, for example, her younger sister. She falls in love with a royal servant, and they want to get married, but it is against the rules of I don't know, the royal stuff, because the guy was divorced and it's not allowed. So she has to she has to like maneuver through a lot of tricky situations that arise because of the struggle between the sister and the Church of England and the royal rules and so on. And she always uses this trick of a technique of muddying the waters. She complicates things unnecessarily with the sister. Instead of saying no, she makes it slightly complicated. How about you do that? How about you do this before getting married? And at the end, she always gets what she wants, because when you by muddying the waters, you're creating other possibilities and you're making the person to think about other possibilities, uh, and distract them with that stuff and gain time. And when you are at the right moment to strike, you can strike. That is the idea of this muddying waters thing.
I got this. Now, this sounds
That's
like
very
the average
Machiavellian.
Brazilian. What'd you say, Pete?
I said that's very Machiavellian, actually.
Very
You,
Machiavellian, but I'm
you,
thinking it's very Brazilian.
but
'Cause-
no, like the way that he describes it, it's like, okay, instead of attacking the person, you simply ask questions and present them with other possibilities, but then
Mhm.
gently try and steer them towards the possibility that is best for you.
Yeah, no, it's a great technique. It's for the advanced level negotiator, but it's awesome.
Hmm.
By the way, boa noite, Sid. I think he went off to bed. But I feel sometimes when I'm talking to people down here, it's a lot like that. It's like they're not getting to the point, but you wonder if there's a method to their madness, and maybe a little bit is this attempt to muddy the waters. So who knows? Who knows if that's what it
I
all.
think that's giving too much credit, actually.
It might be. It
Yeah.
might be. Um, Eswar, down here, do you feel confident in most of your negotiating? like the positions that you're in?
In Brazil?
Yes. Because I know some foreigners are intimidated by all the rambling and this and that and the third that Brazilians can do, trying to barter down and everything. Uh, for you, is it just another day at the office?
I'm trying to like think or compare with other countries and so on. Well, I have to say actually Brazilians are not bad negotiators. They are actually quite good. I think a lot of Europeans and maybe even Americans underestimate Brazilians when it comes to negotiation skills. They're actually quite good, I think. My personal experience here is as long as the money is going out of me, I'm confident about negotiations. But when the money has to come into me, it's always tricky. So it's always more harder it's always harder to get money out of Brazilians.
Well, I can understand that. I had a buddy of mine from India was here, and he was in Liberdade, and he was trying to just buy some just some crafts and stuff to take back home. And I kind of told him the same thing that you said. Don't underestimate the Brazilians. They're tricky with their negotiation skills because he wanted a very low price for this, almost half of what the lady was offering. And he said something that stuck with me to this day. He said, "She's a good negotiator, but I'm Indian."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Don't worry." And he got the price that he wanted. He got the price that he wanted. And haggling is an art form down here. And I also have another good friend of mine
No,
who
it's
was.
not. It is
Yes, it
not.
is, man. Oh, yes, it is. You
Dude,
can.
I lived in China for 5 years. You want to see haggling as an art form? China
Exactly.
is like,
Exactly. I
yeah,
completely agree
yes.
with Pete. Pete. Let me give you an example. I thought
Yes,
a story that I thought about because it's very relevant to what you just said. Indians think that we are good at negotiating,
yes.
Yeah.
but wait after you go to China or Thailand.
Yeah. I lived in Thailand as well.
Yeah, they are the Mac daddies of negotiating.
Yes.
In haggling. No, I mean that's
Yeah.
how I felt when he said what he did. It's like, okay, but it is, you do have to get accustomed to it here. They too take it seriously. I'm not saying they're better or worse than anybody else. And in fact, that's what I was gonna mention is I had a good friend of mine from Bahia, and she just opened my eyes to how easy it is if you haggle enough to get stuff done down here. She would come all the way to Sao Paulo from Bahia to buy stuff for her internet cafe that she had over there. And she would go to Santa Vigenia where you buy all the electronics. And man,
Mhm.
it would start out at 30 reais for this web camera. She would pay 10, 8 reais. Sometimes she'd have to go to like 3 different places. And I was amazed by it. And I said, wow, so, but it's treated as a little bit of a, you got to, for an American, at least, where we're not that accustomed to it. I mean, you do a little bit of, oh, can you do it for this? Maybe one or two round, do one or two back and forths. But here in Brazil, you can stay in one of these back and forths for about 5 minutes before you get what you want. But yeah, I can't imagine that the in China and Thailand, these
No,
countries seem like.
in China, it's like that scene in Life of Brian where he tries to buy the gourd. He's like, "Oh, you're
Yes.
supposed to haggle with me. You're supposed to haggle." No, no, that's not the way you do it. That's exactly the way it is in China. And no matter how good a deal you get, like if you walk away with the price you want, you automatically feel like, man, they just totally played me. They made me feel like I got a good deal. But I
Mhm.
know that they're on the upper end, or they never would have agreed to it. They didn't want to do it. Like, chances are, if you're a good negotiator in China, you can get a better deal than most people. Because I've seen tourists just like throw away money. They get the
Mm.
first price and they throw away money. But yeah, I swear, man, the Chinese are the kings.
Never go
Yeah,
for the first price. Never go
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
first price.
Let me
Um,
give you an example about this. No,
Go
from
ahead.
my
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
personal.
please. Please.
So I was in Dominican Republic, and I met a couple the guy is French and the girl is, I think, Thai. We became friends. We were staying in the same place and so on. So we wanted to go on a tour together. So at some point in the tour, we had to hire a bus. And it's me always who is being picked for negotiating all my life, no? So I was like, okay, I'm the guy here, so I'm going to negotiate with the bus driver for our tickets. So let's say the guy said 100 pesos, and maybe I said 70, and for me 70 was already the best possible
That is
imaginable
the
price.
price you decided on. Yeah.
Yeah. She jumped in, the girl. She
Yeah.
brought it to 40 or whatever, and she made him agree. I was shocked.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
even like imagine in my mind that 40 was a realistic number.
Mm.
No, no. What I found with negotiating in Asia, and well, at least in China and Thailand, is you always go 60% below the first offer.
Yeah.
You're not always going to get that like she did. That's amazing. That's boss level. But yeah, I usually find if you go 60% below the offer and just make some banter, it helps if you have some humor. Like you tell them how poor you are, right? They look, oh, you're a foreigner. You must be rich. It's like, no, no, I'm just a poor English teacher. I have no money, and they're like, I have 5 children. How am I supposed to feed them? And you have this banter. So the language helps if you can speak the language. But I
Yeah.
find
Extremely.
if you go 60% below the initial offer, you'll usually get it for about 50 to 60% the initial offer.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I think that you can maybe, I don't know if you can do 60 down here, but you can go about 40%. But that brings me, so we don't keep Eswar on forever, although I'm enjoying this conversation. That brings me to humor that we didn't touch on, and Pete kind of segued right into it. And what you said, Pete, reminds me of the feta. When you go in the feta, the guys that are like announcing the food, they're so funny. They make jokes about the women walking by and the men, and that purse looks too big. Why aren't you spending any money in it? They're joking with everybody, and
Yeah.
then when you're trying to get that good price, you can talk shit about the fruit. This fruit doesn't look good. I wouldn't feed that to my kid. And then he's this that.
Yeah.
So that jokiness is so much part of the day-to-day dealings here in Brazil in order to make a good deal. And even I do it sometimes when I'm negotiating a price for either a translation or a class. You know, unfortunately, I do have some things that I need to eat. that cost money or something. I'll make a little joke so they understand. Hey, I can't go much lower than this. I can help you out sometimes. So how has humor helped you in how, what are some easy things that you can give to people, some practical advice on humor for those that aren't, comically inclined?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Uh, I don't know what to say to this. Like how to be funny.
Yeah,
Um,
funny without being offensive, baby. Which is very difficult. Everybody thinks they're George Carlin nowadays.
it's I don't know how. Did I say in the book how to be funny?
You're being funny right now. I
Yes,
mean,
exactly. Maybe you're
uh,
just a natural. You're just a natural.
well, when it comes to humor, it's one of the hardest things in the world, humor, and what's his name? I saw an interview with Eddie Murphy and Seinfeld. They were just kind of going back and forth, shooting the shit, and they're talking about Harlem Nights and how they had the was it Della Reese played a big role in that movie, and she's famous for being a very serious, dramatic actress. And Jerry asked him, did you have to teach her, how to make a joke? And he's like, no, you can't do that. Eddie just cut him off. It's like, you can't do it. Either you got it or you don't. And she was perfect for that role. Well, and that's it. Well, this is one thing here. To be funny, you need to be able to do a few things. First, you need to see the funny side and things that most people miss. Okay, things that can surprise them. Um, and also, you say, once you're able to do that, you need to think about what brand of humor you'd like to develop. You can make fun of yourself or people or things you're associated with. You can make fun of the person you are talking to or things they are associated with. Or you can make fun of people, things that neither you nor the people you're talking about are associated with. Um, you don't recommend the first type of comedy because you say that making fun of yourself can kind of, depending on the humor, it could
Yes, yes. This is
can put
actually
yourself
very
down.
bad. This is
Yeah.
actually very bad in Asian cultures because your sense of self-respect is considered very important. And when you start making fun of yourself, like people are like, "Wow, like why would you do that?" Um,
Yes.
self-deprecation is, I think, a very European and North American concept. It
Yeah, I don't
doesn't
even think it
translate.
flies. It sort of flies here in Brazil, kind of, with
It
the
does.
whole.
It does because Brazil is self-deprecating as a nation.
Yeah, yeah. And then the second type that you mentioned here, as far as making fun of the person you're talking to, is also tricky because you risk offending the person, obviously. So I think the one that you go for is making fun of people or things that neither you nor the people you are talking about are associated with. So it's getting people to laugh with you. Um, and there's many ways to do that, guys. You don't have to be the next Eddie Murphy or Jerry Seinfeld to be funny. Sometimes you can just mention, maybe you watched a funny movie, you know,
Hmm.
or
I
you
will give
saw.
you an example of
Yes.
a funny thing that happened in Ponjasukar yesterday, I think.
And
Um,
for anyone who's not familiar, pau de sucre is like a super douchey organic grocery that we have here in Brazil.
yeah,
So, anyways, yeah,
yeah,
context.
It's a
yeah. So
supermarket.
it's a supermarket. Yeah. So I was trying to get some chicken. It's one of these fresh chicken stalls where it's not the frozen one, and there are these people who are serving you. And I said, okay, I want 4 kilos of chicken, and he was about to pack it, and I said, can you cut it because they are chicken breast and so on, the big pieces, and he said, yeah, I can cut it, but I don't cook it yet here. Did you
Wait,
get it?
repeat that last part.
Yeah, he said,
I
yeah,
I don't
I don't,
I don't.
we don't, yeah, we don't offer cooking yet.
What is he talking about, though?
Yeah, yeah. I
That sounds
asked
like
him if,
really dry humor to me. Very
Yeah,
dry.
no, I've
That's
had.
not funny.
It's not funny. Yeah, exactly. Like he was trying to be funny, but he wasn't. He reminded me of a similar story a friend said, and she almost cursed the guy out because he said something very similar, like, we don't do the whole thing here, or uh, I forgot exactly what he said. That's a Brazilian attempt at dry humor that I don't think it flew very well.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, I thought it was funny. The guy, it was the guy who said it. The guy
Mhm.
who was working there. He said, I asked him, can you please cut the chicken? He said,
Yes.
yeah. Maybe I'm not translating it right. Maybe it was funny for me in Portuguese. He said, yeah, I cut it. I can cut it, but we don't cook the food yet here.
No,
And
we
it was
get it. We get it.
now you
It's
got
just
it.
not
Yeah,
that funny. Yeah.
yeah. For me, I thought I felt that he was funny. But the thing was, he was taking a lot of time cutting it, and I was talking to
Mm-hmm.
my girlfriend, and at some point I was like waiting and waiting, and I looked at him and I said, if it was so long, in this time I would have actually also cooked it.
Yeah, now you were funny.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's a better explanation.
Oh, I liked your retort, but his what words did he use? Maybe it was a word play in Portuguese that he used for cozinhar. He said cozinhar.
Yeah, cousin, yeah. But I don't remember the entire phrase.
Uh-huh.
Ainda não cozinhamos aqui, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it
Eh,
was funny.
but anyway, guys, in Brazil, they have they have a bit of dry humor, a bit of self-deprecating humor. You get far here if you're able to be a little funny, be able to joke about yourself, because as Pete said, the whole country is kind of, laughing at itself most of the time. In
Yeah.
fact, if I'm not
It's one of
mistaken,
the only countries I've lived in where you can actually like mock the country you're living in to your
yeah,
client's face, and they'll like punch you in the shoulder and say like, "Yeah, you got it, man." Like it
exactly.
actually it ingratiates you with Brazilians to make fun of Brazil because they do it all the time too, and they're like, "Oh, you got it, you got it."
You get it. And for those that don't know, like Brazil is like the meme, like second to maybe the US, like the meme capital of the world. Like all the memes are from here. Uh, so Brazilians love to joke, and even though sometimes they have a little bit of a thin skin, it's kind of weird with Brazilians too because they can get offended very easily. So it's difficult. I would start with making fun of yourself a little bit here in Brazil in situations, but be careful with making fun of the person you're with or a situation surrounding them because Brazilians are sensitive. And it it can turn on you really quick. But anyway, listen to this. Everybody that comes on to our little show here, the Brazil Expat Journal, needs to play the Expat Challenge. Okay, and that's what we're gonna do right now, Esvar. And I hope you do well because it is a serious quiz on your knowledge of Brazil. And if you get it wrong, I don't know. I'll
You're
just
getting
delete
deported.
this
You're
whole.
getting deported.
You're getting deported. I'll delete this podcast. It's like you were never on. Okay, so take it seriously, please.
All right. What
And
numbers are we taking? Are you
I'll
odds,
start.
evens?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start. What's the best thing about Brazil, as far?
It's cultural mix.
Aha, I like that answer. Yes, it is a
Yeah,
big
it's a
melting
good
pot.
answer.
Go ahead,
All
Pete.
right. And the worst thing.
Maybe real.
The young.
The what?
The real, the currency.
Oh, the hell. The hell. Yeah.
Oh, the Real.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what?
a fair point.
No, that's a great answer coming from Eswar, given how he deals with money a lot more than we do. Anyway, favorite Brazilian food?
Favorite Brazilian food, pudding.
Pudim. Is that?
Mm.
I think I know what this is. It's like made with like kind of rice or something.
No,
No.
no, 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 no. No, pudding. It's the most popular dessert you can get everywhere over here.
Sobremesa. I'm gonna put this on the screen because now I know what you're talking about. You get it all the time at the when you eat at the churrascarias, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can get.
Yes. It's like custard.
Yeah,
It's basically like custard.
Yeah, I
exactly.
don't.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is. Look at this. I don't
Yeah.
like this, guys, but I'll show it to you on the screen because it is very, very popular here. And yeah, it's like a custard. It's made with what? Do you guys know what's in it?
I think milk and
Milk
eggs.
cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made with that like bullshit sweet milk.
There it
It's
is.
very simple stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks
exactly.
really
Yeah.
delicious, but I've never gotten into it. But it's pretty easy dessert to make. All right. So question 4, is it me or you?
I think it's me because you went first.
Yes.
So that would be, what is your least favorite Brazilian food?
Feijão. Or the yellow powder. Uh,
Oh, the
farofa.
farinha, the
Farofa.
farofa.
Yeah.
For
Farinha. Yeah.
I'm with you on farofa, man. That
Yeah.
is
Good
like
Lord.
putting sand on your food.
You
Yeah.
guys don't know good eating. Farofa is delicious. A few people have hated on farofa on the podcast. But yeah, farofa, guys, it's this thing made with the yuca flour, mandioc, however, there's a bunch of names for it. And the idea here, guys, is you put it on your food. Usually when you have something stewy, so that it mixes with the liquid. Uh,
Makes it drier.
not. It depends how much you put on it, and it's good with barbecue too. But anyway, let's get back to question number 5. Is what's your favorite drink in Brazil? Can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Favorite. Caldo de cana.
Mm.
Wow.
Caldo de Cano, very popular at the
It's a
feira.
police. Yeah, it's a Sao Paulo classic.
Yeah.
Yes, usually folks like to eat this with their oh, there's a
Pastéis.
guy there with their what do you call it? The pastels,
Pastels.
right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go. There you go. Caldo de cana. And basically it's just sugar cane that they put through a machine. And this guy here, it's nice. They put it through a big old machine and just squeeze all the juice out of it. And it's a bit too sweet for me, but it is tasty. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. What's the best place you've visited in Brazil?
Florianopolis.
No, really.
Ah.
Nice, nice.
How long were you there?
6 months or even more. My daughter was born there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, almost every expat that I know who has been to Florianopolis says this is the spot. Everybody talks about Rio, but they're like, nah, this is the spot. It's gorgeous, it's safe, it's close to nature, you got beautiful beaches, it's in the south, and there it is. Look at that. Looks like a gorgeous place to be. Okay, so
Hmm.
Florianopolis in the south of Brazil. Is it Santa Catarina? What state is it in? I forgot.
Yeah, it is
I
Santa
think it's
Catarina.
Santa Catarina. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Santa
yeah.
Catarina, Florianopolis. Good one. Good choice.
All
Uh,
right.
it's back to
And
me.
the
Oh no.
no, no, it is you. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Here we go. What's the most overrated location or thing in Brazil?
Well, the thing in Rio, the little mountain thing. How do you call it? It's called Pão de Açúcar, right?
Sugar. Yeah, that's where you get the the little
Yeah.
mountain. That's where you get the name of the supermarket. So there's Pão de Açúcar, guys. Sugarloaf Mountain, and
I
then you
don't
get Pão de.
understand.
There you go.
Yeah, I
Which
don't
one?
understand why. I don't understand what's special about this.
You get a nice view up there. I did the tourist thing when I went to Rio once. Actually, what I thought was a little bit overrated, other than Rio itself, was the Christ statue. Like it was okay when I got up there, but it's too small and you don't get a nice view of the city. Compared to this, I like the experience. You take the little tram up there. That's the whole experience. And then there's a
I'm
little.
yeah, I'm not talking about going up on it, but people actually like to look at it.
Oh no, there's nothing to look at. I don't think there's anything to look at. I think the cool part is being up there. Oh, look, you can have a nice, beautiful lady up there. Um, and there's a little reserve, so up there, a little park that you can walk around. So I had fun on top of Pão de Açúcar. Um, It's kind of odd looking. I'm not gonna. Yeah, but look, at night it can have like a. I think there's restaurants that operate up there, but definitely one of the big tourist attractions in Rio. If you get up there. So what did you do when you got up there? You just like, eh.
No, I didn't go up there. I mean, I'm sure going up there is something of an experience. But I met some friends in Rio, especially Brazilian girls who are karaoke, and they are like in fascination with this Pão de Açúcar to look at it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Are you sure it was Pão de Açúcar or not Dois Irmãos? Dois Irmãos is the one that people love to take a picture of. They call it like the two brother mountains.
No, it
This
was
one
Pão de
is,
Açúcar.
oh,
Yeah,
it's Pão de Açúcar?
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they do look weird, the mountains. It's not like your regular looking mountains. So
For
it is
me,
kind of,
the only
go ahead.
thing I could
I get
find could be attractive to girls is of its shape. It looks like a
yeah.
You're terrible. Could be, though. It does have a little bit of a thing going on. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
looks like
yeah.
a dude lying
it's the
down.
width that counts. It's the width, not the
It's
length.
the width. It's not the length. Yeah. So okay, now that I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it with new eyes now. It kind of does look like a dude lying down and kind of just waking up in the morning, if you know what I mean. So maybe that's it, man. You missed your opportunity to get it in that conversation there. Um. Anyway, you should have been like, "Look at me." Uh. Now let's see. It's back to Pete.
Yes, yes. Next question is where are you, by the way? What city do you live in?
São Paulo at the moment. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we didn't even
Oh,
ask
okay.
that. Yeah,
You're
everybody lives
with
in Sao
us.
Paulo. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. So, what's the best place to chill in Sao Paulo?
Best place to chill?
Yeah.
Parque Ibirapuera.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
frequent answer, but always a good one.
Beautiful place. Have you Eswar, have you ever been there when they've done like the fountain shows with the classical music?
Not yet. Not
Oh,
yet.
it's very nice. Because they have these beautiful fountains there, guys. And at night, sometimes, I don't know if they'll get back to doing it, they'll have the water shows with some classical music playing. Pretty nice experience if you can get there and see. And we're almost done here. Your favorite Brazilian musician or band?
Tribalistas.
Oh, nice band. Marisa Monte was in that, wasn't she?
Yes.
At some point. Yeah, real nice band. Kind of an acoustic MPB. I'll link that, guys. Whenever people mention their favorite artist, I always link a best of or something from YouTube in the comments. So check that out in the comments, guys. And then Pete, to close us off.
Yeah, one word of advice for future visitors to the country.
Learn Portuguese.
Mm. I've been here 7 years. I've never managed to do that. Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
It's been a running theme I think since we've started.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
single guest is like that. That's the most important thing. I'm like, fuck, I've never done that.
Oh man. But anyway, guys, you can get Eswar's book, Negotiate Like a Natural, a short book. I like how that's the little what do you call that, Pete? I'm losing my brain here. The little subheading of the book. It's a short book. Let me share here.
Didn't want to scare people off.
Yeah, actually, I read half of it today, and the only reason I read only half of it is because I had work to do. So yeah, but I still managed to get like 22 pages in, which is like half the book. So
yeah, so there you go, guys. Negotiate Like a Natural by Dr. Eswar Chukaluri. You can get it on your Amazon Kindle. You can just get it off of Amazon. and it's not expensive. That's another thing. Good price for it, and it's a short book. And so I read it, I think, in two sittings, just like once going to work and then once going back. And it's got a lot of great practical advice. He gives a lot of stories, a lot of examples from his own life, starting way back in India, right? I like the beginning of the book where you were talking about being a little boy with was it your grandma? I forgot who it was now, who was with you in the market.
It was my
Um,
uncle. Yeah.
your uncle, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and so he way back as a little boy watching how his uncle maneuvered through the street markets in India to boardrooms, and of course just day to day, things that you can do to negotiate through life. And that's what I like about books on negotiation. That's if they're well written, you don't always have to think about it as, oh, I'm going to open up a multinational or something. I'm going to be the vice president of a multinational next month. I should really get this stuff down. No, you can use it just for day-to-day stuff, just dealing with people. Maybe you
Very.
need somebody to paint your door and you want a good price for it. And that's where I think the book really excels, because it bridges that very well. You don't feel like you're taking a business course or something while reading it. Eswar, you got anything you want to say? Any last words?
No, I really enjoyed it, man. I wasn't thinking that I would enjoy this, participating in this.
That's a compliment.
Yeah,
You're not the first to say that. Don't worry.
yeah,
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah.
All
All
Thank
right.
you
right.
very
Well,
much.
it's
Yeah.
great to have you as well.
It
Yeah.
was
Thank
great.
you.
You were a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll be able to hang soon, because you are right. It's been at least 2-3 years
And you're in
since we
Sao
last seen
Paulo.
each other. Yeah, he's in Sao
Yeah.
Paulo,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we can easily find each other, because he had left the country for a while, but he's back. The man is back. So, guys, thank you for listening. Those of you that have hung out with us, those of you that listen to the show during the week. I always forget to say this at the beginning: like and subscribe to the channel. And your support helps. There's a labor of love for us. We're trying to help folks who are down here, who are thinking about coming down here. So when you like the videos, it helps YouTube share it with more people. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll know when we have new episodes up, and hit the little bell so you get that extra notification for when new episodes are up. And that's it, y'all. It was great having you, and we'll see you next time.